Detroit is based on the true story of a 1967 Algiers Hotel incident and the Detroit riots, and is brought to you by the writing and directing team of Catherine Bigelow and Mark Boal, who also wrote and directed The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Two very good films. Yes, I agree they are overrated, but they are both really good films that I really enjoy watching. And Detroit is another great one from them. This movie is definitely one of the best of the year. Not the movie of the year, but in my opinion, it is up there in my top 10. In my opinion, Detroit is the best out of these three. It's got really good performances from John Boyega. I mean, Star Wars launched this guy to stardom. He continues to be a really great actor. He was great in Star Wars, great in this, great in that movie he made with Emma Watson this year. I don't even remember the name of it. But he is really good in the movie. Anthony Mackie, I didn't even know was in this movie. He also had a really good performance in this movie. He's been really strong in everything he's in, but the standout performance for me was Will Poulter. The kid from We're the Millers with the weird eyebrows. Yeah, this dude is vile, vicious, violent, and he's downright a racist prick. And he portrays all of those characteristics with his character in a great performance. Definitely an Oscar-worthy performance for Will Poulter. Watching this movie, if you saw Will Poulter on the street, you just want to punch him. That's how racist he is in this movie. This is also one of the most intense movies I have seen all year, probably ever in my life. The whole second act of this movie is about an hour. It's one scene in the Algiers Motel. That scene was intense, jaw-dropping, and just totally shocking. That is the type of feeling you're going to get from this movie. Watching this scene, you kind of feel disgusted with yourself, because the message of the film is just like, don't be racist. Racism is bad. And just watching it, like I said, you just get disgusted with yourself, because racism was such a prominent thing in society back in the 1960s, and racism is really starting to become a prominent thing in society today. And I mean, I don't mean to get political here in my videos, I try not to, but I mean, when I can draw parallels from the past to the present in a movie, I have to mention it. And that's how I felt with this movie. I'm just like, this speaks volumes to not only society back then, but society today. It kind of reminded me of the movie American History X with Edward Norton. I think that one's a little bit more powerful, especially the curb stomp scene. That was hard to watch. I think that one's more hard to watch than this. But at the same time, you do feel like you're guilty for watching this movie. Just watching everything unfold before your eyes. You're just like, ah, shit. I feel for these characters. And I will say the character development's not great, but even then, during this whole sequence, you feel for everybody because you're just like, well, this is a shit situation. It's like, seriously. This movie's as good as American History X. I think American History X gets its message and point across a lot more clearer, but even watching this movie, you're just like, how could people be like this? It's just sad, you know? It's an unfortunate and haunting situation for everyone that was involved. Bigelow helmed The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. What she did so well was that she didn't really use a typical like movie camera. She used a handheld camera, and it just made the movie feel a lot more realistic, especially with those two. She does the same thing with this. I mean, there is a little bit of shaky cam, but I mean, the way the movie is edited, it edits out like most of the shakiness, so you can still tell what's going on, which is good. You can just tell, I mean, right off the bat, I was like, this is filmed on a handheld camera. I mean, you can tell, and it just adds to the realism of the movie. And it kind of puts you in the position where it's like, holy shit, I'm like right here, watching this in the hotel, unfolding before my eyes. And throughout the runtimes, The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, there's little to minimal use of a musical score, and that was very prominent in this movie. There's little to no use of a musical score in this movie as well, and that also added to the realism of the situation. The first act of the movie could have been shortened a little bit, you know, the part where it shows, like, everybody rioting against the police in Detroit on the 12th Street riots. That could have been shortened a little bit, but at the same time, it was necessary to provide the viewer with background information as to what was going on in Detroit at that time, especially for viewers who, like me, had never heard of this situation before. So that was necessary, I think. There is an animation to open up this film with text that tells you what's kind of going on in the background, and a lot of people did have a problem with that. If I had a problem with it, it's really just a nitpick. That's not a major flaw with the movie. it was kind of weird, but at the same time, it was an interesting way to open the movie. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. One and only major flaw with this movie is that it drags on. This movie could have been 20 minutes shorter. It's 2 hours and 25 minutes. It definitely could have been 20 minutes shorter. It has what I like to call the Return of the King ending, where there's multiple endings and it just keeps going. You could have cut most of that out. I think you could have done the same thing with Zero Dark 30. That movie could have been 20 minutes shorter instead of being 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's really my only complaint I have with this movie. Other than that, this movie is shocking, jaw-dropping, intense, makes you feel disgusted with yourself for watching it, and just makes you feel for the whole situation and everybody involved, that was the victims in this situation. It must have sucked. Detroit's definitely not the movie of the year. However, it is up there for me. It impacted me. This actually sparked a long-running conversation with my brother all the way back to the train station. We talked for probably the entire walk, which is 15 minutes, about this movie and different situations that stemmed from the consequences of racism that are portrayed in this movie. I'm going to give Detroit an A. Definitely see this movie, guys. It's definitely one of the best of the year. I just don't know what the replay value is going to be like on this movie. It's definitely a really hard movie to watch, but I think everybody should see it. Thank you so much for watching my review of Detroit. You can like me on Facebook, you can follow me on Twitter, you're on YouTube, subscribe at the end of this video, check out some past reviews I have done, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again for watching.